This week we got a new trailer for Digimon Survive. The latest trailer spotlights some of the gameplay for Digimon Survive, which will be releasing later this month. The footage shows the combination of visual novel and tactical battles that players will experience in the game. Also shown is the use of a phone camera to scan glitches, which can reveal clues or lead to finding something useful. Choices will be permanent in the game, so no going back to change your decision later on once it's made, which will have moral outcomes. These decisions can affect karma, affinity, and even digi-evolutions. Chatting with your teammates in battles will have a number of effects through encouragement. It looks like you can boost HP temporarily and other stats. In case you missed it, battles with Digimon consist of a grid-based tactical RPG combat setup with monsters' speed determining turn order. Digimon Survive releases on July 29th for Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. As with all news in this video, you can check out more details in the description link below. Tower of Fantasy, a free-to-play sci-fi action RPG, recently began pre-registration for PC, Android, and iOS. Level Infinite and Hot Air Studio announced last month that Tower of Fantasy is planned for a global release sometime in Q3 of 2022. A new trailer was released previewing some of the story, which is quite dark in tone. This trailer mainly focuses on siblings Shirley and Zeke, with Shirley being infected by a virus. Tower of Fantasy looks and feels like an alternate to Genshin Impact, from the colourful landscapes to the art style. However, this doesn't mean it's a carbon copy. It takes on more sci-fi fantasy in its approach, with in-depth character customization. However, much like Genshin Impact, Tower of Fantasy is also a gacha game, wherein you chase after amazing characters and weapons. However, Tower of Fantasy does have a lore-friendly explanation as to why your character can morph into extremely different characters at the click of a button. Square Enix has definitely been quite busy, and 2022 will be full of releases. One of those releases is the Diofield Chronicle, which got a ton of new details about gameplay, combat, and more in a livestream this week. Also revealed was a release date for the game, with the worldwide launch being September 22nd. The game is a tactical RPG which will be launching on platforms PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and Switch. The game is a top-down tactical RPG that is played in real time with the ability to pause and plan out your moves. It has a beautiful art style that is somewhat reminiscent of their 2.5D games Triangle Strategy or Octopath Traveler. Players will definitely need to have a particular eye for planning to be able to make the most of their heroes and units. Players will use their troop strength to overcome foes in battle, taking their enemies' weaknesses into account. The battles are in a realistic diorama style with some stunning combat visual effects, but players can also pause the game at any time to issue individual commands. The first expansion for Monster Hunter Rise has now reached the milestone of 2 million units sold. Sunbreak unleashed this time on both platforms, Switch and PC via Steam at the end of last month. The expansion boasts quite the number of hours, as we spent over 200 hours reviewing the gameplay in our Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak review. The base game has also reached a new milestone, having surpassed 10 million units sold. The game is also gaining a number of free updates this year, which has also been outlined in a roadmap. Celebrating the good news, Capcom have announced players will also get 2 free item packs this week. If you haven't checked out Monster Hunter Rise yet, you can get the free demo, which will give you some idea of the combat and monster hunting. The new expansion adds a host of new content, including follower quests, new Switch skills, and much more. For all your hunter needs, you can find armor, weapons, guides, and more on our Monster Hunter Rise wiki. Also revealed this week was the release dates for Valkyrie Elysium. While the date was leaked a little earlier than planned, it turns out there are 2 launch dates depending on the platform. PlayStation consoles will be getting Valkyrie Elysium on September 29th, while PC will launch on November 12, 2022. A new trailer was released announcing the launch dates, which featured an unnamed Valkyrie. She has been awakened recently by Odin, the Allfather, who used the last of his strength to bring her to Midgard. Our Valkyrie is thus tasked with saving souls and redeeming the world. Combat previews showed Valkyrie taking up a sword and spear, soaring to great heights in the air and striking down from above. She can make use of her divine arts and combo systems to bring destruction to her foes. Also coming to PlayStation on the 29th will be the port of Valkyrie Profile Lenneth. Pre-ordering the game on Steam will give players a 72-hour head start to play the game. Forspoken, the open-world action RPG, was supposed to be released this year on October 11th. However, the game has now been delayed to January 24th, 2023. The title was delayed once before earlier this year, getting its original May release date pushed to October, but it looks like the launch date hasn't stuck. In a post on the official Twitter account, developer Luminous Production has shared that the game is in its final polishing phase, also detailing that all game elements are now complete. While the game won't be launching this year, we will be hearing more about the game later this summer according to the post. Previously, there has been a bunch of details with a trailer showing an impressive mix of magic and parkour stunts. The game has striking visuals combining fantasy with more modern-day elements in the open world of Athia. Forspoken will now release on January 24, 2023 for PlayStation 5 and PC. Announced this week was the roguelike deck builder Gwent Rogue Mage. Players will take on the role of Baldur as he roams the countryside trying to find out how to create the first Witcher. Gwent Rogue Mage's initial deck will consist of cards that excel when they are boosted or have their strength buffed. Gwent Rogue Mage will be purely single player in a similar vein to Thronebreaker the Witcher's Tales. However, this new deck builder will not have the story take center stage. In fact, CD Projekt Red doesn't consider this game setting to be part of the mainline game's lore. Instead, it will be a roguelite game where failure looks like it constantly looms its ugly head around the player. The game will release on July 7th, 2022 with the standard edition starting at $9.99. And finally, we got news on patch 8 for Baldur's Gate 3 this week, which is currently in early access. Larian Studios has been teasing a new class which was revealed in the livestream this week, welcoming the 10th class Bard to the game. But also the gnome race was revealed, as well as combat improvements, visual and audio enhancements. The game also received some quality of life changes to character sheets and expertise feature for the rogue. The new race comes in 3 sub-races, the first being rock gnomes, which are naturally curious and will be able to tinker with objects, creating devices. The forest gnome are stealthy and can conjure illusions to make a great escape. And finally, deep gnomes have the ability of superior dark vision, aiding them in survival. Of course, this is just a brief overview of what was announced, as we have an in-depth video that goes over all the details called Baldur's Gate 3 Update 8 patch notes, which you can go check out on our channel. For everything else, be sure to drop by our Baldur's Gate 3 wiki.
Well, that's it for the week in the wikis. Please join us again next week for yet another great week of gaming. Remember to check out our VIP program for some exclusive supporter benefits. And budding writers should take advantage of our Become an Author initiative. Thanks again for being part of this great community. Keep checking in with us with news, reviews, YouTube streams and vids, and general wiki goodness.